She give me top and I pipe down. Hey, she asked for top and I tell the whole pipe down. Bitch, give me pop like right now. Yeah, bitch, right now. I pop a Zango lights out. She give me top and I pipe down. Hey, she asked for top and I tell the whole pipe down. Bitch, give me pop.
Sup guys, Record Reezy back at another My Hero Academia video. And you guys read the title, you know the vibes, you know what we're here for. Fight Club, Episode 2, EraserHead vs. Stain. Now before we get into that, I just want to take a second to say thank you to all the new subscribers. We're getting a lot of support here on the channel. 2020 is really about to be our year, guys. And I know you guys are hyped, I'm hyped. So without further ado, let's get it! So this is how Fight Club works. I'm going to go over each combatant's quirks, ability, equipment if they have any, tactics, and ultimately how I think the fight will play out, and the setting in which the fight will play out. Then I'll give my opinion on who I think will be the victor when it's all said and done. Now let's meet our first combatant. EraserHead's quirk, Eraser, gives him the ability to nullify another person's quirk by looking at the user. While powerful, this ability has many drawbacks. Eraser deactivates if Aizawa blinks or if his line of sight is obstructed. His quirk also gives him dry eye, forcing him to blink more often when he uses his quirk continuously. Now we'll go over some of EraserHead's equipment. EraserHead's signature binding cloths are made from a steel, wire, alloy woven with carbon nanofibers. He has a large knife that he keeps on his back in case his binding cloths get stuck to something and he needs to sever them, or he needs to use them against an opponent. And he also carries ninja-like caltrops to use to immobilize some of his opponents. EraserHead, in my opinion, is one of the most tactically sound heroes we have in My Hero Academia. But his quirk, ever since the USJ, has gotten nerfed a little bit. His orbitals got damaged, so he can't use his quirk for that long. And I think he excels a lot at hand-to-hand combat, in my opinion. Close quarters, getting in there, getting nasty with people, giving them the hands. But that might not be in his best interest against our next combatant. Stain. Stain's quirk, Blood Curdle, allows him to paralyze his target by tasting a sample of their blood. The amount of time a victim remains paralyzed depends on their blood type. In descending order from longest to shortest duration, they are B, A, B, and O. And now for some of Stain's equipment. Stain has his signature katana, an assortment of knives and dagger, a couple of hidden blades up his sleeves. Stain is like a walking armory of knives. Okay, so let's set it up. This goes down in an alleyway like it kinda did in the Stain art. Let's say Stain and Aizawa are both doing that thing that they do when they're both just, hanging out on rooftops in the middle of the night. Yeah. Okay, so let's say some glory boy hero is walking home through an alleyway. I mean, come on guys, he's a hero. He's not going to be afraid to walk down the alleyway by himself, right? He just got his endorsement check. He's feeling good about life right now. Stain has him in his crosshairs. Stain pops up on his ass.
Gotcha, bitch.
Being the rooftop prowler that he is, Aizawa oversees and decides to help out the glory boy hero. So now the question here is, how do we see this fight playing out and who's the victor? Honestly, this is a really tough fight for both combatants. I feel like they're similar fighters in the sense that both of them don't have crazy powerful quirks that can annihilate a city block or dish out devastating amounts of damage. They both have quirks that are great for ambushing or disabling an opponent so they can end the fight quickly. But if I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I feel like in the physical attributes category, Stain has Aizawa beat. Stain has just so much crazy speed. He was able to evade Ida's high-speed kick when they first met, as well as partially block Ida's reciprocal burst during the ensuing battle. Stain is crazy fast and he has crazy tenacity. And I know some people are going to bring up the whole Dobby point blank Aizawa dodging the fire, but in my honest opinion, that feat is really an outlier because we've seen Aizawa get finessed point blank by Toga when she was masquerading as Rocklock, and she backflipped over his ass and stabbed him, and he couldn't react fast enough to evade that. In my opinion, both combatants are very tactically sound. Stain, when he was fighting Shoto, was able to read him and deduce that Shoto was really just spamming his quirk and that he probably wasn't too competent up close and personal. And throughout the series, we've seen Aizawa make great critical thinking decisions, read a situation, come up with a solution mid-combat in the heat of the moment. I feel like both combatants are very sound, and in terms of equipment, I feel like both have means to counter one another. Aizawa, I don't feel like is nearly as fast on his feet as Stain is, or as agile. But Aizawa himself is still very fast. I'm not trying to say he's not fast or agile in his own regards, but I feel like what Aizawa could do in the fight is use the cow drops that he carried. The cow drops, I butchered that word, I'm so sorry. The cow drops that he uses to slow Stain down enough. But the counter to that is, I feel like Stain, he has so many knives, and we've seen him use his knives as projectiles time and time again. And remember, if Aizawa breaks out, like if you leave Aizawa's line of sight, you like your quirk is back. And I feel like Stain would have no problem getting blood from Aizawa. That's a given in this fight. I feel like Stain has too much speed, too many blades, too many means to get ahead. And I feel like Aizawa's primary defense tool will be his binding claws, because they're made from that steel alloy. So maybe he'll have some defense against all those knives and sword attacks, but Aizawa's mainly all about getting up close. And Aizawa has his own big knife that he carries on his back, but let's be honest, Aizawa doesn't want to make this a knife fight with Stain of all people. He'll get slaughtered in that regard. And I feel like Aizawa, he's at a disadvantage, but what he does have to keep him in his fight is his quirk Eraser. I feel like the way I could see this going is Stain maybe gets up close, like speed blitzes him, cuts him, activates his quirk. Aizawa's paralyzed, but Aizawa looks at him and Stain's like, how the hell is this guy still moving? And then, on a side note, I have it like in my head, it's hard for me to believe that Stain wouldn't know who Aizawa, like who EraserHead is of all people, because Stain is a hero fanatic. But we're gonna leave that out for the sake of this Fight Club matchup. But I feel like in the fight with Shoto, when Stain threw the sword in the air at Shoto and Shoto had to look up to see the sword coming down on him, I feel like Stain would do things like that to make Aizawa look away. If Aizawa doesn't look away, he's gonna get stabbed by a falling blade. It's like Stain has him in such a predicament. The second he looks away, he's paralyzed. If he doesn't look away, he's gonna get stabbed even more. Stain just has so many different ways to beat him, and Stain has such crazy tenacity. Like, he had a cracked rib, he got beat to absolute shit against Ida, Shoto, and Deku, and he was still going. His tenacity, his endurance, his resolve is just next level. And I feel like over time that would overwhelm Aizawa, because remember, EraserHead can't use his quirk for long periods of time anymore after the event of the USJ. So it's really a battle of attrition, and I can't see, honestly, I truly can't see EraserHead trying to outlast Stain. Stain, he only lost because it was like 3v1, and he started rushing and being pressed for time, so he started making mistakes. But in a one-on-one, like Fight Club is right now, this matchup, I gotta go with Stain. And not to mention, Aizawa's blood type is B. And if you remember at the beginning of the video, when I listed from longest to shortest, B is the longest blood type. So inevitably, when Stain gets Aizawa's blood, he would be paralyzed for 8 minutes. And you try going 8 minutes without blinking. It's a pretty tall task to ask. So it's just so many. I feel like Stain just has the advantage in this one. It's a very tough fight, and I know for a fact that Aizawa would put up a hell of a fight against Stain, and he would not get washed by any means. But as the fight goes on, I have to give this to the hero killer Stain. So the winner for the episode 2, Stain. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to stick around for the sneak peek at episode 3, and a quick announcement about episode 3. Episode 3 will be airing Monday instead of its usual day, Saturday. Got a little bit more equipment I need to set up, but after episode 3, we'll be back to Fight Club being on every Saturday. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. I've been Reezy. You guys just got wrecked.
Peace.
Next time.
鼻から